Back in 2009, we played Splosion Man, a fast-paced, silly platformer where all you did was explode, and explode some more to make it through some devious levels.
And now the Splosions are back, but this time they're pink and have a bow in Ms. Splosion Man.
Hey, guys, this is all great fun and stuff, but I've actually got some stories I've got to get on with.
All right, get out of here, you filthy mudblood!
Have a good show.
Ms. Splosion Man is an obvious reference to the arcade classic Ms. Pac-Man. It was essentially Pac-Man, but with minor changes, including semi-random ghost movement and different music. She also wore a bow.
And Ms. Splosion Man is kind of like that. It's very similar to Splosion Man with just a few significant changes.
If you missed the first Splosion Man, the basic idea is this. All you have to do is guide Miss Splosion Man through each level to the exit. You can explode 3 times in a row before you run out of Splosion juice, and then you either have to land on the ground or hug a wall for your Splosions to recharge. But some items like explosive barrels and splody walls will recharge your Splodes.
There's a few new hazards to deal with as well. There's zip lines, flying cars, cannons, and even barrels that throw you into the background, to name a few.
There's really 2 parts to the game. There's puzzles you'll come across where you'll have to figure out a way to move on, and then there's the fast-paced platforming where you fly through levels, often relying on pure reflexes and instinct to handle what comes at you.
Yeah, and I think this will make it or break it for a lot of people because there is a lot of trial and error. Sometimes you'll need to explode 20 in a row just to get through the level. Miss just one jump or barrel, even by a little, and it's back to the last checkpoint. I like my games hard and I like a challenge, but I wasn't having much fun with this and I couldn't put my finger on why because I really enjoyed the last game.
Perhaps you've lost some brain cells over the years.
Well, maybe your tastes have just changed.
You could have a virus.
No. I think I've worked it out. The first Splosion Man was fast-paced and carefree because there was a trust I felt between me and the developers. I knew when I was flying across the screen that a platformer barrel would be exactly where I expect it to be. But here I felt the opposite of that. Often it just wasn't very clear what I was supposed to do, so I'd get to the end of this epic sequence of Splodes only to be left wondering what to do, and then die and have to do it all over again. Playing those sections over and over and over just sapped all the fun away for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's definitely harder than the first one, and it can be cruel at times, but I actually found it quite satisfying learning all those moves and then finally pulling them off. Plus, just like the original, if you're really struggling, you get the option to cheat to the next checkpoint, but that does give you the worst time and score possible.
True, but in the original game, it only offered me the chance to cheat a few times, and I always scoffed at the idea, but here, almost every level ended up asking me if I wanted to skip at some point, and I was always tempted to.
Yeah, fair enough, but let's move on. What did you think of the co-op?
Well, you can play this with up to 4 players either online or locally through a completely separate co-op campaign. I definitely had more fun sploding with friends, Hex. It's quite messy though, and hard to tell where you are with all the sploding going on, but that's part of its charm. It's chaotic, and you'll need some precise teamwork at times, which leaves the door open for a bit of co-op trolling.
There's also this weird single-player co-op mode.
Single-player co-op does not compute.
Keep your bolts on, Darren, because I'm about to explain it. Basically, you control 2 Miss Splosion Men on the one controller through the entire co-op campaign. The left stick and left bumper controls one character, while the right stick and the right bumper controls the other. It's completely confusing and one of the most insane things I've ever seen in a game. It's kind of like trying to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time. Oh, I'm actually quite good at that.
Well, as you can see, it's a pretty silly game. Miss Splosion Man herself is always yabbering on with some pop song lyrics or movie one-liners. At first I found the humour quite charming, but it did start to grate on me after a while. But final thoughts, Ius?
Well, I think we disagree a bit on this one. I mean, I thought it was a quality platformer with some really tricky bits, and in the end I was won over by its silliness. You know, it made me smile and it gave me a good challenge, so I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I found the graphics quite charming, and I did like the humour in it, and there's heaps of levels too, and the co-op is great, but in the end I just found it too frustrating, so I'm giving it 6.5.